Welcome to Dental Hub. Today's video is going to be on tooth functions. So every one of our tooth has a specific function it's there for. So we're going to go over that today. So we're going to start off in the middle with our incisors. So we have our central incisors, which are by our midlines, and we have our lateral incisors, which are next to our central incisors. Now, if you look at the shape of these are very flat and they're very thin to the point. So both the centrals and the laterals have that same shape to them. And if you look at the tip, they have a very, very fine line. Now that is there for biting into food. So when you take a bite into an apple, these are the teeth you're using. Because of the sharp, fine edge, they're able to grab the apple much better. These teeth tend to erupt around the age of 6 to 8 years old for the central incisors, and for the lateral around 8 to 9 years old. For the upper arch, the central incisors will be number 8 and 9. The laterals will be number 7 and 10. These teeth replace baby teeth that are D, E, F, and G. And for the lowers, they will be 23, 24, 25, 26, which replaces baby teeth N, O, P, and Q. If these numbers or letters are confusing you, you can check out another one of our videos on primary dentation and adult dentation, permanent dentation, so that you can clarify what these numbers are referring to. These are located in the front of your mouth, so your anteriors. You have 4 incisors on the top and 4 on the bottom, so altogether you have 8 of them. Alright, when you smile, these are the first set of teeth you're going to see. Next, we have our canines. Canines are very pointed, so they have like a little tip to them, and then they have a little point at the very end. So when you open your mouth and you look at all your teeth, these are going to be the most pointed looking ones. Alright, for the top and for the bottom. Now these functions are there for ripping and tearing. Alright, because of the point on them, they're able to create a small incision into whatever food you're eating, and you can rip that apart. Alright. These are up around the age of 11 to 13 years old. So your permanent ones come in by the age of 13. The upper arch will be number 6 and number 11. So your right side will be 6, your left side will be 11. These teeth replace baby teeth C and H. And for the lower, it'll be 22 and 27, which replaces M and R. Now these are located in the front of your mouth. They're part of the anteriors as well. They're right next to the lateral incisors. So you'll have your central incisors in the middle, then you'll have your lateral incisors next to them, and next you're going to have your canines next to the central incisors. You have 2 canines on the top and 2 on the bottom for a total of 4. And these teeth are sometimes referred to as fangs or like vampire teeth. Then we have our premolars, which are referred to also as bicuspids. Either word works. You have your upper first premolars tend to have 2 roots. So if you look at it in a profile perspective, you'll have 1 root here and 1 root in the back. From the front, from the facial perspective or the buccal perspective, it just looks like one root. But when you go to the side, you have a root on the buccal and a root on the palatal surface or the lingual surface. Alright, for the lowers, it's also 1 single root. And for your second premolars, it's the same thing. 1 single root, one single root. Alright, so here's the facial perspective and here's the profile, and then you have the occlusals. Alright, don't get confused thinking we have 4 teeth on one side and 4 on the other side. That's not the case. This is just the facial perspective and the profile perspective with the occlusal perspective. Okay? So these teeth are used for chewing and grinding. Their surfaces, as you see these little grooves, it's better to grip the food so that you can bite into it. It doesn't just slide off. And these erupt around the age of 10 to 13 years old. The upper numbers will be 4 and 5 on the right side, 12 and 13 on the left side, and then they replace tooth A and B on the right side, and I and J on the left side. Now, premolars replace molar baby teeth, because remember, children do not have premolar teeth. They have their anteriors and then they have their molars. So once their anteriors come out and their canine, and in the back, once they lose their molars, those molars are replaced by premolars in adulthood. We have altogether 8 premolars. We have 4 on the upper arch, 2 on each side, and then we have 4 on the lower arch, 2 on each side as well. And these are located behind the canines. Alright, so you got your central incisors, your lateral incisors, your canines, and then you have your premolars. Next, we're going to move on to molars, our first and second molars. Now, to identify these, you would need to look at the root. Molars tend to be a lot bigger than premolars, so they may look similar-ish on the occlusal surface with the grooves, but once you look at the overall size of the tooth and the number of roots, you'll realize it's a molar. So molars can have about 3 to 4 roots sometimes. Alright, so the upper tend to be more closely together. I know this doesn't look too close together, but the roots tend to be a little bit closer together than the lowers. The lowers tend to be more spread out. And the upper tends to have 3 roots, whereas the bottom will sometimes have 2. But there are cases where it is possible to have more roots involved. These are used for chewing and grinding. Same thing as a premolar, is just a larger surface area that it covers. These come out around the age of 6 to 14 years old, so by the time you hit teenage years, you should have these in your mouth. Now, the upper numbers are going to be number 2 and 3 on the right side, 14 and 15 on the left side. And the lower numbers are going to be 18 and 19 on the left side, 30 and 31 on the right side. Now, if you pay attention here, you'll see that these teeth do not replace any primary teeth, because the last set of primary teeth that you had was the molars, and the premolars replaces those in adulthood. So what come out, they're coming out into fresh space in the back of your mouth. As you get older, your arch expands. And these are located behind your premolar. They're the last teeth you will see in the back of your mouth, alright? You'll have 4 of these on your upper arch, 2 on each side, 4 of these on the bottom, 2 on each side as well. And lastly, we're going to go over third molars, which are a wisdom tooth. Now, a lot of times you will not be able to see these teeth in your mouth because either they're under your bone, they're under your gums, they haven't erupted yet, or it's just a bad angle to see them. These also will have about 2 to 3 roots, but with this, it tends to be fused together. These teeth roots will be spread apart. They tend to be very tight and close together. Even though you can see 3 different roots, it's just much tighter and without any space in between them. And they do have the grooves like your first and second molars. They're just not as functional in your mouth as your first and second molars are. But if you are to use these, if they do erupt, you do have space in your mouth for them. These are used for chewing and grinding. Usually these will erupt around the age of 17 to 25. Some people will get it later, or they would just not get it. A lot of times you can just leave these teeth alone. If they're in your gums and they're not erupting, they're not bothering you, you can leave them. But sometimes they cause pain and they do need to be removed. So for the upper right side, your wisdom tooth will be number 1. The upper left side will be 16, and on the lower left side you'll have 17, and the lower right side will be 32. Now you have 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, right behind your molars, all the way in the back. Even though you may not be able to see it, it can still possibly be there. So there you have it for the functions of all of our teeth. If you would like to learn more about dentistry, please check out a few more of our videos. Thanks for watching.